Jack London, pseudonym of John Griffith Cheney London, born in San Francisco in 1876 and died in Glen Ellen in 1916, was one of the most successful American writers during his time. In his literary production there are many autobiographical elements. He was never recognized by his biological father, and during his troubled adolescence he became acquainted with smugglers and delinquents. He was a sailor and an oyster pirate. He fought for the workers' rights, and he was arrested for vagrancy. In 1897, he joined the Klondike Gold Rush, which inspired several works including The Call of the Wild, and in 1904 he was a war correspondent in the Russo-Japanese War. He traveled a lot around the world and became interested in evolutionism and social Darwinism. He died from alcoholism. Oakland, California, early 20th century. The 21-year-old Martin Eden, a young sailor, defends a boy named Arthur in a brawl. Out of gratitude to Martin, Arthur decides to introduce him to his family, the Moores. The protagonist meets Ruth, Arthur's sister, whose stunning beauty is a radiant light in Martin's life. He falls in love with her and is determined to get out of the ignorant working class and become an educated middle-class man through the study of and the analysis of literature and philosophy. Martin is an autodidact, since he does not have enough money to attend school. He reads an impressive number of books and acquires countless notions thanks to his subtle intellect. The young sailor finds his vocation. He will become a writer, he will earn money by selling his books, and he will marry Ruth. Martin's sister Gertrude, her husband, and Ruth's parents blame Martin for believing in such an unattainable endeavor, and Ruth herself, torn between her love for Martin and the rigid moralism of the bourgeoisie, recommends that he should look for a proper employment. Martin manages to find a job as a clothing presser in a hotel, but quits after a few weeks due to overworking. He feels treated like a beast, not a man. Martin's outstanding literary production is barely worth something, and he struggles to pay all his debts, but the strong-willed writer does not give in. It is Ross Brissenden, an old and mysterious intellectual, who will show Martin the sad truth about the supposed noble class he longs for, a class full of hypocrites and small-minded people. 2 years have passed, and Martin's works are now a huge success, in an unpredictable twist of fate. Sadly, their author has become more and more disillusioned, living a meaningless life where he is just a shadow of himself, and he can only be free by drowning in the sea, his dear old friend. Martin Eden, the 2019 Italian movie starring Luca Marinelli and directed by Pietro Marcello, has some differences compared to the book. The story is set in Naples and its outskirts, around the 1960s, and Martin, despite still being a sailor, only navigates the seas of Italy and never explores the Atlantic, the Pacific, or the South Seas. So the visions of his journeys are replaced by archive footage of the city where he lives. The character names, with the exception of Martin Eden and Ross Brissenden, are culturally adapted into Italian: Ruth Helena, Morse Orsini, Joe Nino, Blount Mattei, Higginbotham Fiore. In the book there are many references to philosophical matters, which often cannot be found in the movie. The movie particularly focuses on social contrasts and class struggle, thus creating a stronger link between Ross Brissenden and the socialist movement. A specific character, Maria, the Portuguese laundress Maria Silva in the book, is more significant in the movie. She offers the protagonist a place to stay after he is kicked out of the house by his brother-in-law, and, with her humility and simplicity, perhaps she is the only person that truly recognizes Martin's kind heart and gives him moral support. A spirit, a deity, a goddess. Martin is astonished by the cosmic power of love, which is so powerful that he feels like an insignificant sailor who is adrift on his ship. Martin Eden, adventurous explorer of the seven seas, loses all his experience and audacity in the presence of Ruth Marsh and her books. He really is nothing more than a rude, ignorant man unworthy of her consideration. Love, the sentiment that sometimes is able to push us over our limits, shows Martin his seeming condition of inferiority and the desire to improve it, unfortunately leading him to a bitter surprise. In the description of the character and his actions, it is clear that the passion and the energy that drive Martin Eden are extremely intense, almost superhuman. His unquenchable thirst for knowledge soon clashes with the harsh reality of daily life. Books cannot give you something to eat. Or maybe they can. It is now that Martin becomes aware of the potential hidden inside him and decides he does not want to be a bystander anymore, but the eyes, the ears, and the heart of the world, by pursuing a writing career. The art of great men, according to the protagonist, but not according to the unwritten laws of society. You cannot be a good writer without a proper education, says the middle class. Writing is the futile activity of idlers, says the working class. Therefore, Martin is forced to combat against these prejudices in order to achieve his goal. Novels, poems, short stories, articles, essays are returned to the sender again and again before Martin starts earning just a few dollars. The protagonist questions himself about the reason of his failures and perceives that something is changing. The Martin of the past, that young troublemaker who fought in brawls and traveled tirelessly across the sea, insinuates in his mind, generating visions of his former life. Martin, the writer, does not lose hope, even though no one understands the passionate feeling that inspires him. Yet he is smart and quick-witted. He simply has to accept to work as an accountant, and Ruth and her family would be ready to help him. Martin's head is full of thoughts and doubts when one day he casually meets Russ Brissenden. This sneaky little devil, who never spares anything or anybody from his sharp comments, women, love, newspapers, the middle class, philosophers, and intellectuals, as well as himself, is a sort of mirror where the Martin of the present, frantic writer and desperate lover, apparently sees a reflection of his own image, which is being consumed by reality. It is terribly captivating observing how life slowly crushes the spirit of the indomitable Martin, a man who was nobody, born among generations of slaves, and who did not want to become somebody rich, prominent, or famous. He only wished to fulfill his vocation. The role of society is profoundly negative in this novel, because it acts as a flood that relentlessly tries to extinguish the creative fire burning inside Martin. Martin Eden is a misunderstood dreamer fueled by love and poetry, while the memories of his past keep haunting him. I had already written it all. This is the thought that strikes Martin when suddenly the infamous gears of the publishing industry start turning in the right way. The society that clipped his wings is now benevolent toward the writer, who lives his moment of glory. But it is too late. Ruth's newfound love for him is yet another deception of the insular and petty bourgeoisie, and Martin finally understands he was never accepted for who he was. He is incapable of loving. He cannot answer to the call of his old world, because the old sailor has become a victim of the illusions of life, which robbed him of his passions and emotions. This is the tragedy that emerges in the character development of Martin Eden. the tragedy of an individual rejected by a society that seeks to control and bend him to its will, like a pawn. A society so miserable that even the power of true love is ultimately defeated.